Hey everybody, welcome back to the Place and Fades YouTube channel. I'm your co-host, Gordon Gambles, joined today, back from vacation, the man, the myth, the legend, Keyrode freaking Robertson. I don't know what side you're on. We're back after what was an interesting UFC 274. You didn't miss out on much, my friend, especially in that co-main event, but what you did miss out on was a little takedown from yours truly right here. We're celebrating with the festive shirts. You got a nice little tan on. How are we doing?
Pretty good. Had a good time away. Yeah, a big card, UFC 274, lots of big names. Some of them delivered, some of them did not deliver. But yeah, coming into another week, a fight night, less exciting than the names on UFC 274. But that doesn't mean it's going to be any less exciting as a card.
Yeah, for sure. Also, what you missed this past couple of weeks was just a bunch of fight cancellations happening as the card is already sorted. That has definitely been a big problem for DraftKings recently. And you know what? It feels kind of guilty because the sole reason I did get that takedown was because that Lozon Cerrone cancellation. So let's pray for no more cancellation this week, because that's 3 in the last 4 weeks. Absolutely terrible news. But like you mentioned, kind of a lackluster card here. You have Blachowicz up top versus Rakic. That'll be a pretty interesting high-level main event. But other than that, you only have 11 fights. A few of them who would be lackluster. I think there's going to be a couple sleeper fights in this card, but definitely some money-making opportunities. I'm happy to have you back by my side. I say we don't waste any more time. Let's get into this. Let's make some money. I've been on an absolute roll, so if we lose this weekend, I'm kicking you out. I'm just kidding. I think it'll be a good one here, and let's get her started. Main event, like I mentioned, high-level technical striking matchup between Rakic and Blachowicz. What side are we leaning towards this one?
Yeah, so this is an interesting fight here. We got Rakic on one side, we got Blachowicz on the other side. Obviously, the legendary Polish power, former champion of this division, hugely skilled fighter, but coming in as an underdog here on DraftKings, salary of only $7,500 against Rakic, who's up there at $8,700. Now, to start off, we're going to say that we don't really think you necessarily need either of these guys on either side. Rakic definitely is the favorite for a reason and is a very, very good technical striker and does have the ability to win a lot of these minutes, but that doesn't necessarily mean with a huge amount of output. I mean, he's going up against a guy called the Polish Power, which means he might be a little bit afraid to get in there real close, might stay away from Blachowicz, and he could win this with a relatively low score, and for $8,700, that might not be worth it. Now on the other side, we have the Polish Power, $7,500, and we definitely see some upside here. I mean, he isn't the favorite, he is the underdog, but we know what he can do. Rakic is going to do a pretty good job at takedown defense in this fight. Most likely, it's unlikely that Jan's going to be able to really land a bunch of takedowns, which does diminish his floor a little bit and his ceiling, but he does have the ability to get that knockout potentially, and we think this fight is kind of a dog or pass situation. You're either going to take this value at $7,500 because this is a pretty wide gap between these two fighters, given Jan's abilities and his history in the UFC, but we don't really see a ton of value on the side of Rakic here.
Even in his winning condition, Rakic probably isn't going to score that well. I do think that Blachowicz is a live underdog, especially if you're struggling to find them. I just think that there's better options than Rakic up top, and I don't see him scoring that well in a win, despite it being 5 rounds. So not necessarily one you need that much ownership in, but we'll definitely have some in the dog in Blachowicz. But moving right along, another fight. The fight in the co-main is a lot more entertaining. Definitely one we're looking forward to a lot more. Spann versus Kutalaba. Kutalaba, the Hulk. The man comes into the weigh-in looking like an absolute madman, and I hope he comes out here this time. He's the definition of a GPP fighter, one of those fighters you really want to target because he's killer to be killed. You look at his history recently, and he's putting up either 100 points, 127, 119, or he's losing, to the likes of Ankalaev in 2-4. The main reason why I like him a lot here is he got a very good match, in my opinion. Spann has been finishing all of his losses in the UFC. He doesn't like being hit that much, and Ian Kutalaba definitely brings a lot of power. If you add in the wrestling ability, the ability to take him down, I do think that the Hulk here has a good ability to score a lot of points and is my favorite pay-up option up top. I definitely don't think that a first-round finish is off the table. I definitely don't think that scoring over 110 points off the table. I think Ian Kutalaba is the best pay-up option, and I see him scoring very, very well. All right, the fight right below that one, Smolka versus Grant. I think that's going to be our highest-owned fight of the night. Tell us why.
Yeah, this is a fight that we like a lot, and as you said, we're going to have a lot of ownership on both sides of this fight. Now, we know Smolka fights with a high pace and is the definition of what we say about at least one fighter every single week, a kill or to be killed fighter. The guy fights with incredible pace, goes out there right at the beginning, and can get those submission wins. And we've seen that Davey Grant has been submitted 4 times in the UFC before, which means that This finish for Smolka is definitely live. Now, he is a $7,100 underdog, and that is also for a good reason. We've seen his diminishing chin over his past few fights, and Davy Grant is a guy with incredible power. $9,100, but if he does get that win, we see it being very early in this fight, which means that this could be a huge score. So on the GPP front, we definitely think you want to have ownership on one side, because if Davy Grant gets that KO, he's probably in that optimal lineup. And if Smolka gets that sub, he's almost definitely in that optimal lineup for this week. So we think you should definitely have ownership on one side of this fight. Obviously, a little bit more on Grant. He is the big favorite, and for good reason. It's more likely he gets that knockout than Smolka gets that submission. But we definitely think if you want to take a shot on a big underdog here, Smolka is not a bad choice, especially to have in GPP lineups.
Yeah, both their win equity score very, very high, and I'm going to have some ownership on both sides. Definitely lean towards more the Grant side, largely because you can get an underdog like Candelario. Now, I talked about him a couple weeks ago. This is a spot where Tara's coming in, great prospect. We know what he can do. That ground game is looking really, really good. The problem is he's fighting a lot of cans, a lot of guys who have no good experience, and he's getting a huge step up. With that being said, it's not like Candelario is making his debut, but what Candelario does bring that Tara doesn't is the ability to win minutes. Tara, despite being a great opportunistic grappler, struggles on the feet, struggles with volume, and struggles to win minutes. So it's going to be very, very simple. It's going to be Tara winning that by submission, because we know Candelario gives his backup. We know he's not the best on the ground. But when it comes to winning a decision, it's going to be Candelario. Tara doesn't have much output. He looks very uncomfortable on the feet, so Candelario is going to be very, very good and very, very live at $7,200. With that being said, Tara has a huge ceiling because he has the ability to snatch up that neck pretty fast. However, his floor isn't quite there. Especially compared to the other guys of the region, like the Grants, like the Kujalabas. I'm not a fan of Tyra as much this weekend. However, I will have some ownership on this fight on both sides. All right, moving right along. Another favorite we're liking this side on the cash side of things is going to be Caitlin Chookagian. Tell us a bit more about her.
I mean, what we're looking for on the GPP side is people who are going to put up those massive scores. And on the cash side, we're looking for people like Chookagian, who have a way higher floor, but maybe a little bit less of a ceiling. And that's exactly what we think she's going to have this week. We think that she definitely wins these minutes on the feet and lands some volume. I mean, we know Ribas was a bit of an undersized fighter down at 115, and now she's coming up to 125, an even bigger weight class, and she's going up against somebody in Chookagian who's going to be a lot bigger than she is. Ribas's win equity is mainly in her ability to grapple people on the ground, and we know that size and weight plays a huge factor in that, which means that going up a weight class, we think she's going to struggle a lot in trying to land takedowns, get people to the ground, and win control time there, which means that Chookagian, the knockout isn't super likely, but we think that she wins this fight a lot more than she loses it. And for that reason, we like her a lot in cash, especially down there at $8,600. I mean, when you're confident in a winner at $8,600, that's some good value there, especially for cash lineups.
Yeah, for sure. And unfortunately, this is a fight where size does matter, a model that I am very burdened by. But we do think that Chookagian is a good option this week, and I hope she does very well for us. And right below her there, we have Manuel Torres in a price tag of 8.3K. And before you guys beat on me for a second here, let me just explain myself. Yes, Frank Camacho has the more experience and has the opportunity to score big, and I know why a lot of people are on him this week as an underdog. However, we have seen Camacho knocked out in the past, and with so many people going towards him, I really do think Torres is being overlooked. You're having a fighter in Torres who's going to be very, very low owned, whose win equity is through the roof, and for that reason, I will have a fair share of him in my lineups. I think his ceiling is up there at 120, and if you're getting someone at 120 points, ability to score knockdowns, first round finish on the table, you're going to have to take it, especially at such low ownership, especially against a guy who just got knocked out by Justin James. So I get the experience, I get the dog shot on Camacho, but don't look past Torres this weekend. I do think he has great opportunities to score well. That's going to do it for us for the UFC Vegas 54 card. Before we do so, let me just address the elephant in the room. Yes, Michael Johnson is fighting. Yes, he's the biggest choke artist of all time. And for that reason, I'm not addressing him in this video, because no matter how much of a better fighter he is, Kira, I don't know about yourself, but I don't trust him this week. He has the ability to be winning these fights till he isn't, and I can't put my hard-earned money behind him. However, I do think he has the opportunity to score very, very big if he's gotten that choking out of his system. But it's Michael Johnson, so he probably hasn't. Running out the slate, though, Hadley Nascimento. I think Nascimento's very live, but he's too comfortable to play off his back. For that reason, I can't back him either. I'm staying away from that fight. Same thing for the Rio Jolie fight. I think it's too low volume, staying away from that one as well. But I do want some ownership on the Hill versus Jandiroba one. Jandiroba's win equity is that sub. I think that's a very high scoring method of victory if it does happen. And Hill's a decent dog because she's going to win the minutes. I don't mind this fight as a whole, leaning toward the Jandiroba side with that sub. And last but not least, Maximov versus Petrosky. I'm going to give a shout out to Monk right here because I have his tweet open right in front of me. Both these guys have a combined 29 minutes of the cage with an average of 24.62 takedown attempts per 15 minutes. These guys are very, very active wrestlers and they score very, very well doing so. I do think that Petrosky is the stronger guy early on. However, he will fade, meaning that most expensive guy on the slate, Maximov, is probably going to lose that first round at a high clip, meaning he might not necessarily score as well as the Kuchalabas, as the Grants, as other people up top. So for that reason, I might have a shot on Petrosky down there, but not too high on Maximov. So that being said, we have just gone over every single fight on the card. Me, my main man, in our nice Hawaiian shirts. I appreciate you for being back. I hope you had a great trip and you're ready to make some money with me here at UFC Vegas 54. With that being said, that is going to do it for us here on the channel. I hope that was enough for you guys to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all your love and support recently, especially with that big win last week. Let's keep her rolling. For more stuff from us on the channel, I'm riding a pretty nice win streak on the betting side of things. You can catch me along with Phoenix MMA and another special guest here Friday night on the channel to break it down the entire card from a betting perspective. And you can check out my best bets on CurrentMMA. I'll put the link in the description down below. Once again, that's to do it for us. Thank you guys for tuning in and let's make some money, guys.